Record 18, Side 1, Lesson number 18, the 18th lesson, Practical section, Sports.
You're an athletic young man, Peter. What sports do you take part in?
Athletics is one of my favorites, but I also like swimming and cricket in summer.
Isn't it strange how cricket has always kept within the boundaries of the British Commonwealth? And yet English people are passionately fond of the game.
Perhaps it needs an English mentality and tradition to appreciate the game properly, both as a relaxation and a sport.
Anyway, I find cricket a wonderful sport on Saturday afternoons in summer, as well as in the evenings during the week.
Of course, you are younger than I am, so some strenuous exercise will do you no harm. I prefer a quiet, leisurely game of golf at the weekend in spring, summer, and autumn.
I wonder why gardening is never considered a sport by golfers. Other men spend their evenings in the garden creating something. But the golfer and the cricketer are always away from home.
You're exaggerating, Mary, I'm sure. Joe is only occasionally out for a game of golf, and he does take you to the cinema and theatre once or twice a month.
That's true. But I'm not complaining really, because I go for a game of tennis sometimes in the evening. Not only for sentimental reasons. We met at the tennis club, you know.
I was more active then in summer, but even football in winter is hard work now, though I enjoy it very much. One must keep fit.
That's really the basic reason for most physical exercise, I think. Whether it be athletics, boxing, football, rugby, cricket, tennis, skiing, skating, or any other summer or winter sport.
Keeping young isn't easy, you know, and sport does help. I like riding too.
Horse racing is the sport of kings, they say. But even a poor man like me can go out riding for an hour or two at the weekend during the better months of the year. Riding schools are fairly common nowadays.
I'm afraid I've done very little riding. Only enough to feel rather sore afterwards. Horses' backs shouldn't be made so hard.
You're too soft, really. I don't know why you don't try. He seems to have no resistance. I don't know how he expects to go skiing in winter. That can be strenuous enough, I'm sure.
It's old age, Mary.
Don't be silly, you two. I'm still very active in sport, even if I prefer those like hunting, fishing, golf, and cricket, which appear to require less energy. As for resistance, I'd like to see you two sitting out half the night waiting to catch a fine salmon.
Then come home and tell us about the one that got away.
It's no use talking to him, Mary. He thinks we're too young to understand.
Why don't you two discuss sport without making humorous remarks about me and my age? Why don't you go and play football, Mary? There are ladies' football teams now, you know.
Who'd make your dinner on Saturday, Joe, if Mary went off for the match? And I haven't mentioned the 2 nights a week she'd probably have to train. I don't think you'd be wise.
If you two men have finished discussing my sporting future, I think I shall get ready for a walk. You can do the same if you wish to come with me.
Take your shorts, and we can all have a cross-country run, Mary, up the nearest mountain. You and Peter will find the exercise useful. I'll walk through the woods and cut down some trees, just for fun.
Lazy again, Joe? Too tired to come for a run? Well, I think we'll all go for a walk as far as the river. There's a pleasant little cafe there where we can have tea and spend an hour before returning home for supper.
Come along, Mary. We're off.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Side 2, grammatical section. The imperative mode. The most common form of the imperative is the second person, because it is the most direct and lends itself to the idea of an order, supplication, instruction, or advice. The verb is used in the infinitive without to for both the second person singular and plural. Do this exercise now. Give me a shilling, please. Take the first turning on the right. The other persons are formed by placing the imperative of the verb to let, followed by the accusative before the infinitive, as in these examples. Let me go to the cinema, Mummy. Let John and me come with you. Let them wait a little longer. Note that we may use either a noun or pronoun after let without the slightest change in the construction. The negative is formed by placing do not before the affirmative form. Note the following examples. Don't give him that book. Don't let's go and see them. Don't ask them where they've been. Don't be late for the train. Note the last example. It is only in the imperative negative that to be takes the auxiliary verb to do. The auxiliary verb to do has another use in the imperative. It attenuates the order or emphasizes the supplication, and so on. It is important to remember that to do is used in this form also with the affirmative. For example, do come at once, do listen to what I'm saying. There are other ways of attenuating the imperative. For example, come with me, will you? Do you mind waiting here a moment? Will you close that door? Close the door, please. Remember how, in the future tense, when there is a following verb, it is coordinated with the principal verb. That is, we have in English two future tense verbs instead of the future followed by an infinitive, as in some other languages. The same takes place in the imperative. For example, go and see if the postman has been. Stop at the shop and ask if my book has arrived yet. Further uses of to do. A. To do is also used in normal affirmative sentences to give emphasis, particularly when a strong contradiction of a preceding statement is required, and also sometimes in place of really, indeed, but of course, as we can see in the following examples. You didn't study your lesson last night, Tom? No, but I did study in the afternoon. He says I don't work, but I do. We did read the book, although you don't believe us. B. It is sometimes used to avoid repeating a principal verb when there is no other auxiliary, and in short answers when there is no auxiliary in the question. These examples will illustrate this. They talk too much. Yes, they do. She never studies well. No, she doesn't. Did you see your friend this morning? No, we didn't. Who ate all the cake? I didn't, Mummy. See? When two statements are alike, we can make one sentence using so when they are positive and in agreement, or neither or nor when negative and in agreement. Listen and study the following examples carefully. 1. John likes cake. Mary likes cake too. John likes cake, and so does Mary. 2. Children don't like whiskey. Many adults don't like whiskey either. Children don't like whiskey, and neither do many adults. Note that the subject comes after to do in these examples. D. In question tags, when there is no other auxiliary, to do is used. 1. You study English, don't you? Yes, I do. They worked very hard, didn't they? Yes, they did. 2. You don't study English, do you? No, I don't. They didn't work very hard, did they? No, they didn't. When the principal verb in the question is positive, the question tag must, besides being interrogative, be negative, as in the first two examples. This type of question invites a positive answer. The two examples having a negative principal verb and a positive question tag invite a negative answer.